forward a bit so that we can get started in earnest. Please, could you just move forward? I also like to apologize to our online audience. I know quite a number of people are on Zoom and maybe Instagram, but I'm sure of the Zoom link, and I would be apologizing to them too for the delay. I know how it can be, especially when they're not at the venue live and they're just waiting and wondering what's going on. Well, we're about to start, and start we will. I want to welcome everyone to the exhibition, and well, it's assumed another dimension. It's much more than just the exhibition, but it's all under and about the exhibition. But there's quite a couple of activities that we'll be looking at as we go on. It's tagged the SILVA Lining, and sub-themed Imal Silva, the man, his art, and his journey, as a retrospective exhibition of the life and work of the artist Imal Silva from his many years in the city of Ibadan. Apart from the exhibition, we'll also be having a brief koinonia / discussion. But before then, we'll also be having a lecture, or I would like to call it a keynote address, not exactly a lecture as such, but a keynote address by one of our very own. I will introduce him as time goes on, or at the right time, let me put it that way. But before I go any further, I would like to call on the CEO of the Tech Art Gallery. He's a man of many parts. Some know him as mentor. Personally, I've known him for quite a number of years. He doesn't know me, or he didn't know me up until yesterday. And when I introduced myself to him, I said, "Oh, I've known you from the days of Nuyi Knits." Those who know Nuyi Knits know that that's quite a while back. And he was surprised. And I know so many people that we have in common, and they all see him as mentor. I've always had him in that light as a mentor to all my friends. So it's an honor, it's a privilege for me to be here today, and at this event, holding at his behest. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Pastor Francis Madojemo, the CEO of Tech Art Gallery. He has a few words of welcome to share with us, and then we'll launch into the event proper. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you all for coming this afternoon. Let me first appreciate everybody that's here, and particularly I want to thank Imal for taking my offer up at such a short notice. First and foremost, all the faults are mine. Any lacks you see this afternoon is because I had to move things rather fast. There's a fun fair that is starting today for 14 days in the Great Hall and all over the compound. And we just revamped this place a few weeks ago, so we needed to start. And I also wanted it to coincide with the opening of the gallery. My idea is pretty simple. I've always believed, and as I've been introduced as a pastor right now, most of you I believe if Jesus were walking on the earth today, I believe he would be a movie maker, because he was a fantastic storyteller. And one of the things I think we have played to the back in this country is the power of arts to shape our culture and to influence our people. I still recall with shivers down my spine watching Gods Are Not to Blame in secondary school. And then I had the privilege of directing it before I graduated from the secondary school. I don't think movies in Nigeria today move anywhere close to the emotional lessons you learn from watching a play with people on stage. And I still believe 90% of Nigerians have never experienced it, yet it's part of our culture. That's what we did as in the villages and things like that. I think we've left the best part of our gifting from God and decided to adopt a more Western approach to our lives. And I think somehow, with the magnificent work of arts coming out of this country and with the remarkable talent we have like Imal Silva and my sister sitting here this evening, I think we've finally come to our senses. However, we're ignoring technology. We're ignoring the advantage it gives us, the ability to leapfrog, the ability to distribute our products and services. Look at the movie, one with Wakanda in it. What's it called again? Black Panther, and of course the Wakanda Forever sequel. And I look at the outfits in those movies made out of African patterns, and it just goes to show that this is our time. I'm also a firm believer that the first will become the last and the last will become the first, and I think it's our turn. It's our turn. But the best tool we can use to do that is technology. And so I'm trying to build together some sort of a coalition between leveraging technology and the NFTs and all the other things that are associated with it, with current and contemporary artists, giving us a common platform where we can work together. And that's why we decided to take all our knowledge, all the investments we've made in this place, and zero in on this particular concept we're saying together. I want to thank Imal for taking me up at incredibly short notice. I truly believe in him. I believe in the work he does. I believe in what he stands for. And so those are the kind of artists we want to represent here. People who are seriously minded about improving this country. So thank you very much, and I appreciate your being here this evening. God bless you.
Please, another round of applause for Pastor Francis Madojemu. I acknowledge your presence, Rosalian. I remember attending an exhibition where I saw your paintings. I love the way you use those colors. They always just pop out for me. Beautiful. It's nice to have you here. I welcome everyone who has just come in. At this point in time, we'll be having our keynote lecture, or should I say keynote address, just as we said earlier. I promised you I would introduce our keynote speaker. And so permit me to read an abridged version. This is in no way a comprehensive version of his profile. If, just like I said to him when I obtained permission earlier, I said, sir, permit me to just do a mini version of your profile, because if we start to elucidate on everything, we'll be here for maybe another 1 hour or thereabout. There's so much on him, but I'm just going to do a quick one, and then we'll have him come talk to us, giving his keynote address. Dr. Tunde Adegbola was born in 1955 and known as TA, or Uncle T. He is a scientist, musician, engineer, linguist, cultural activist, amongst many other things. I mean, how many other things can there be again when you have such a wide spectrum of activities all deposited in one man? I mean, an engineer and then a musician again, you know. And he's best known for his work in setting up most of the pioneering private television and radio stations in Nigeria. A round of applause, please. In the circles that I walk, people like this are referred to as ancestors. Yes. I mean, when they say setting up most of the private TV and radio stations, I mean, just date back to when some of those private things started. And this man was setting them up. It's an ancestor. Okay, so I move on. Ancient. He's the founder of Tiwa Systems. If you've been long enough in Ibadan, you will know Tiwa Systems. I remember when they moved to New Bodija down Favors Road, just before you turn to Johannes. I'm sure you're smiling. So not just that I did my homework, I know. This is not me researching now. I know. Okay, so founder of Tiwa Systems and the executive director of ALT-I, that's the African Languages Technology Initiative. Now let's look at a bit of Tiwa Systems. After a successful career of many years as a broadcast engineer in the Nigerian public service, he set up he set up Tiwa Systems in 1985 with the aim of bringing the benefits of digital technology and accompanying information revolution to Nigeria. Apart from providing consultancy and other services in both commercial and scientific computing, with Tiwa, he pioneered desktop publishing in Nigeria by transforming the operations of such publishing houses such as Spectrum Books, Evans Brothers, Onibonje Press, and many others between 1985 and 1990. Please, another round of applause. You see, when I don't throw words anyhow. When you say somebody is an ancestor, desktop publishing, can you imagine as far back as that time? And then a lot of the printing presses, the big houses as we know them today, benefited from his knowledge and his input. Okay. He also pioneered non-linear editing. Wow. Of video and 3D animation in the Nigerian movie industry by installing the first personal animation recorder and the non-linear editing suites for production houses including Media International, Clink Studios, Mainframe Productions. I mean, you know Mainframe Productions, Ole Cool and the rest. Tunde Kilani. I mean, this man was the man behind the technology that they were running on at that time. Another round for our ancestors, please. Thank you. Okay, this led to various commissions for design of most of the pioneering private TV stations in Nigeria, including channels, MITV, AIT, where he designed, supplied, installed, and commissioned the stations between 1994 and 1997. I won't say it again, don't worry. He was the technical consultant to the Open Society Initiative for West Africa for design and implementation of West Africa Democracy Radio between 2003 and 2006. Ladies and gentlemen, indeed, we are privileged to have such a man in our midst. Please put your hands together as I call up Dr. Tunde Adegbola to give us his keynote address. You're welcome, sir. Please keep clapping till he mounts the lectern.
I finally believe what I've always been told, that you should never believe everything you hear at an art exhibition. Thank you very much. My name is Tunde Adegbola, and I was asked to talk about the history of Ibadan art. Not being a professional historian, I choose to be a little modest, and I would rather talk about a history of Ibadan art with the subtitle of how Ibadan became an art and culture hub in the 60s and beyond. The 19th century wars between the Yoruba people that started from around 1825 to about 1895 as well as the military jihad of the Sokoto Emirate, instigated a southward move for many Yoruba communities in search of more secure terrain. This caused the dispersal of many old cities, such as the Old Oyo and Owu, leading to the emergence of new ones, such as Abeokuta and Ibadan. While the Egba found safety under the Olumo rock, in what they described as Abeokuta, under the rock, warriors from Oyo, Ife, and Ijebu found safety within the hill ranges at the interface of the forest and the savannah, Ebaodon, beside the savannah. And that was how what we now know as Ibadan was founded in 1829. By 1893, the British had exerted protectorate authorities over the region within which Ibadan is located. And the Lagos-Kano Railway, designed to link the northern and southern protectorates commercially, reached Ibadan in 1901. This turned Ibadan into a natural magnet for agricultural products such as cassava, cotton, cocoa, rubber, timber, palm oil, coming from the adjoining settlements, and other goods from further inland, all headed for the ports in Lagos. The movement of the agricultural and other products caused an increase in the population of Ibadan. Thus, Ibadan grew rapidly into a major trading as well as a manufacturing city and a city of services. All these contributed to the selection of Ibadan as the headquarters of the then Western provinces in 1939. The University College Ibadan was established in 1948 as a college of the University of London. And within a few years, some of the most brilliant young minds in Nigeria had converged on Ibadan because of the university. Some as students, others as lecturers and support staff. Notably among them were Wole Soyinka, Chinua Achebe, Pius Okigbo, John Pepe Clark Beke-Deremo, most of them in their 20s and a few in their 30s. Others straddled the humanities and the sciences, with some, like Bola Ige, later going into politics, and Gamaliel Onosode going into corporate administration. In the sciences were people like Adegoke Olubumo, James Ezeilo, and Chike Obi. They all had one thing in common. They all loved and patronized the arts. The University College did not attract only young, bright Nigerian minds. It also attracted some free-spirit Europeans. Among them were Doig Simmons, a medical illustrator, and Frank Speed, a medical photographer. Both of them working at the University College Hospital in Ibadan. And also Ulibert, a German phonetician and phonologist. Doig Simmons and Frank Speed spent the bulk of their spare time documenting Yoruba culture, with Frank Speed filming cultural festivals all over Yoruba land. By so doing, Frank Speed became a pioneering ethnographic filmmaker, and a significant one for that matter. Many of his works define the subject of African studies around the world today. As for Ulibert, he saw more value in actually walking outside the university walls, extramural. Mural being the French word for wall. So extramural is not extramoral. It means outside the wall. That is, he was working not within the university but outside the university. So Ulibea saw more value in actually working outside his university walls, extramural, than teaching about speech sounds within the walled enclave of the university. He ultimately disengaged from his position in the university and moved further inland, exploring towns like Oshogbo, Ilobu, Okuku, Erinle, Erin-Osun, and many other Yoruba towns and cities. He was seeking to understand the Yoruba mind and ways of life through the visual arts as the material media for documenting non-material thought. All this he did outside the walled enclave of the university. Apart from these free spirit Europeans, there were also a number of forward-looking, thoroughgoing academics, such as Martin Barnum and Geoffrey Axworthy of the Department of English in the university. They developed the first school of drama in Nigeria at the University of Ibadan in 1960. The establishment of self-government in the then Western region in 1952, preparatory to independence in 1960, necessitated the development of a civil service and the building of a secretariat. The secretariat was strategically built near the university so that the civil servants could benefit from the intellectual atmosphere of the university. Both these institutions, the university and the secretariat, haven't been built far from the old Ibadan city, which has a center around Bere. The need to promote interaction between the university community and the civil servants was enhanced by the construction of Bodija Housing Estate as the first of its kind in Africa. It was deliberately situated between the university college and the secretariat so that both university staff and the civil servants could live together and thereby engage in intellectual exchange. And so started the breeding of a new civil service elite and a learned gentry, providing the building blocks of what made Ibadan an art and culture hub in the 1960s and beyond. While the thoroughgoing academics sought to institutionalize education in the arts within the walls of the university college, and the free spirits from Europe encouraged art and culture in the larger society, the young and bright Nigerian minds oscillated between the two persuasions, seeking to obtain their degrees on one hand, while still trying to affect the larger society in which art was deeply embedded in the spiritual lives of the people, what we call the village square experience. The extramural program also enriched the larger Ibadan society with knowledge generated within the university, thereby fulfilling the desire for the university to influence the new civil service elite positively. Unfortunately, the extramural program soon became an extramural program which degenerated into remedial programs for prospective university entrants. This was the environment that produced the Mbari Mbayo art movement, in which Mbari, the Igbo word for creation and a concept of ritual art, was pawned and appropriated by the overwhelming Yoruba influences in the movement as a wish for the joy of accomplishment. Mbari Mbayo. With Ulibaya's support, the Mbari Mbayo movement in Ibadan ran a theater and an art gallery. They also published works of Nigerian artists as well as a Journal of African and African American Literature, the Black Orpheus. A Yoruba playwright, Duro Ladipo, inspired by the Ibadan group, decided to set up a similar group around his family house in Oshogbo, also supported by Olibea. The Oshogbo group attracted more than just intellectuals. By virtue of its strategic location on a major road, it quickly became an all-comers arts place where passers-by would stop to see ongoing stage plays and visual arts on display. The Oshogbo group became an important satellite that influenced the Ibadan group in no small measure. Many talented artists from Oshogbo regularly visited Ibadan to perform and exhibit at the facilities of the Ibadan group. These included artists like Rufus Ogundele, Jimo Braimo, Muraino Oyelami, and Prince Twins 77. They worked in painting and sculpture, music and theater, beads and textiles. They all became internationally recognized artists. Dimas Nwoko, after studying fine arts, in Zaria and Paris, moved to Ibadan and became part of the Mbari Mbayo movement. He taught at the University of Ibadan, the University College Ibadan then, and was also involved in design of the theatrical productions. Another significant personality in support roles for theater production was Dexter Lindesay, the West Indian theater technician. Ben Enwonwu, the sculptor of the Risen Christ, commissioned in 1954 and carved from a single block of the Iroko tree, is arguably one of Nigeria's best sculptors. This sculpture for the new chapel of the Resurrection in the University of Ibadan remains a masterpiece. Even though the great Nigerian sculptor Ben Enwonwu was not really an Ibadan man, the location of his masterpiece in Ibadan is a testimony to Enwonwu's expertise as well as the artistic attraction of Ibadan. The establishment of the Western Nigeria Television in 1959 was another big boost to the art movement in Ibadan. The quest to indigenize TV content saw in the Mbari Mbayo movement in Ibadan and Oshogbo a fertile recruitment base. Yoruba theater groups such as Drola Dipo, Kola Ogumola, and Oyinyaje Jobi from Oshogbo contributed to digitizing TV productions. Also in Ibadan were people like Baba Salah and many others. From within the Ibadan elite, thespians like Bayo Akinola and Femi Johnson took part in productions that went on TV. Richard Taylor, a Briton who headed the camera unit of the television station, visited secondary schools in Ibadan in search of bright stars among students and teachers in the arts. As a child growing up in Ibadan, I benefited extensively from these facilities. The Arts Theatre in University of Ibadan was where we gathered on Saturdays to be taught to play the recorder by expatriate wives of university lecturers who kept busy by training us young people. Various venues like Obisheson Hall, the British Council Hall attached to a library, the Arts Theatre in UI, and the Trenchard Hall in the university, all were centers where arts went on all the time. In Okebola was the Paradise Club where Abeokuta had his performed regularly. Tunji Oyelano, taking over the space that the Mbari Mbayo used in Adamasingba, continued in building the arts in Ibadan through music and performance. The Liberty Stadium, built long before the National Stadium in Lagos, being the first standard stadium in Nigeria, was available for major cultural festivals, such as national festivals. In Ibadan too was a trail of big publishing houses. The University Press Limited, Evans Brothers and Heinemann Educational Books. 3 of them located back to back, with a much younger First Veritas just down the line. And on the same road, the famous booksellers of Ibadan, all on the same street, within about less than half a kilometer. All these point to the intellectual, cultural, and artistic environment that Ibadan was then. Now today, this background has continued to breed artistic enterprise in Ibadan. Of recent, the new Lagos Abeokuta Ibadan train, it has been found that people will hop out of the hula baloo of Lagos by 8 a.m., get to Ibadan by 10:30, first port of call, Amala Sky, and then other places like Tunde Odunlade Art Studio, various other places. And then they return to Lagos in the evening. And that is some of those things that have now evolved out of this art history of Ibadan. The visual arts environment of Ibadan, of course, I've talked about Dimas Nwoko, was also supported by other traditionally trained artists, such as the Fabumi dynasty. We have about many children from the Fabumi family, with, of course, with Fakeye family, with Lamidi Fakeye being one of the most prominent. So this is the background to what we now see in Ibadan, in which, even though things have changed a lot, military government with its attendant Philistinism has not succeeded in killing that spirit of arts and culture of Ibadan. So it is a matter of great pleasure that the Tech Art Gallery is taking off in Ibadan. And this can only promise an increased relevance of Ibadan in the art circle of Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Can someone help us with this lectern? We will not be needing it anymore. Okay, we are moving, but this is time well spent, so I'm glad about that. Quickly, without taking too much of our time, I would like to call on the man who has made us gather here today. But before doing that, I would like to read the curatorial note from the desk of the curator, Blessing B. Azubike. I'll be calling her up later on. Well, not so much later on, shortly in fact. But before we call her up, I'd like to read her note on the man Imal Silva. The silver lining for followers of Imal Silva's art career many years ago as a young Ibadan resident casually going about his art, and in 2006, when he not only professionally began his practice, but also set up a gallery down to 2012 when he left Ibadan for Abuja, where he has since settled with his family. It may be easy to conclude that his relocation awakened other business interests and relegated his art from the fore. The truth is, Imal Silva wears many hats, and during an introduction may be called a businessman, another time a marketer, amongst many other things. The backdrop of these, however, is art, and at his core, Imal Silva is an artist. The SILVA Lining is a retrospective exhibition of the life and work of Imal Silva from his many years in the city of Ibadan. It's a presentation of paintings, film, and conversations set around Ibadan with a focus on the Nigerian Sri Lankan Imal Silva, who moved to the ancient city with his mother at the age of 10. The guy is Niger, forget any other this thing there. He's not even looking Sri Lankan again, Seth. The skin has turned to Niger skin. All right. The SILVA Lining also marks the opening of the Tech Art Gallery and is the first of its exhibitions and art programming. When Silva was invited to be the subject of this event, I thought it was timely as it marks a decade since Silva's move from Ibadan to Abuja. Ibadan, the city which shaped him, and it's also coming at a time when the dust on the ancient city is being blown off, and its true potential is slowly being unveiled with articles like The Past Glory is Returning, which is a November 2022, that's just last month, by Al Jazeera. They featured Ibadan, and there was quite a lot of talk there, and it was speaking primarily of Ibadan's nascent artistic revival. So even the world is beginning to look at us here in Ibadan and recognize the potential. So we will do well to equally recognize what we have here and celebrate it, which is what is being kicked off here today at the Tech Art Gallery. As is his fashion, Imal Silva, an avid collaborator and relationship builder, has extended the stage to others. And so, what started out as an attempt to acknowledge his art and life has turned to a celebration of Ibadan, its art circles, and other lives. Hence, the panel conversation, Ibadan to the world. That panel conversation is going to be taking place immediately after he gives us his own welcome address. And I believe he'll be also on the panel. Okay, confirmed. All right. This exhibition, which has him sharing the stage with artists such as Mudiare Onobrakpeya, permission or apologies, I hope I pronounced it somewhat right, thank you, and Tope Fatumbi, that's one I'll get it, I was born here now, and Oluwole Omofemi, while Dr. Tunde Adegbola, who's just giving us his lecture or keynote address on the history of Ibadan art. On view also are works by some other artists who worked at Treasures for Life, which is the name of Imal Silva's art gallery. I remember Treasures for Life at Awolowo Junction. If you remember, we had so many deep conversations those days. Pay you a visit, look at what's up, what's coming up, and all of that, and we will have long talks until one of us remembers we have something else important to do, and then we break off to regroup another day. While in Ibadan, through the SILVA Lining, Silva shares 7 pieces alongside powerful conversations and his life's journey, it is my hope that new things are birthed and the younger generation of Ibadan-based artists and art practitioners are awakened to the great potential that this ancient city possesses. Once again, this is the curatorial note from Blessing B. Azubike, the curator for this particular event. Please, a round of applause for her. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a rousing welcome and possibly a standing ovation to the man of the moment, Mr. Imal Silva.
Please sit down. Thank you very much, my dear distinguished, I don't want to say ladies and gentlemen, because that is too impersonal. This is family. So, my distinguished members of the family, thank you for coming. Truly, truly appreciate your presence. And I know it's a Sunday where you're supposed to be relaxing at home, but you decided to come. Like I was telling somebody, it's not about having a huge crowd, it's about having quality people. And as I was sitting at the back, I was just looking at all of you and the quality contributions you make in our conversations, in whatever we've done before, in our business, in whatever we've done, makes life much more worthy than, just being what everybody just enjoys. So it's a celebration of you too. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. I want to recognize the panelists once again because they were hiding their heads. That's Tokwe Fatumbi there. Please help me clap for him. Tokwe encouraged me when I was starting my gallery. He's had a gallery for so many years. Oluwole Omofemi, now a celebrity globally, also affected by Tokwe as well as Mr. Beniza. You're here, sir. Please stand up. Let us see you. Thank you so much for coming, sir. Thank you so much for what you're doing. You may not know the details of what's happening, but these gentlemen have done a huge favor for us in Ibadan. We will get to know more in the days to come. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And madam, thank you for coming. I'm saying this because these are sector people. These are the art people. My mentor's son, Baba Bruce Honorable, is here. He came all the way from Lagos. Please, sir, stand up for recognition. Thank you so much for coming. I know if you read fine art in secondary school and you had the textbook in fine art, you cannot miss having heard the word Honor Brakpeya. When I first said it, I used like 2-3 minutes to pronounce it properly. And Daddy has been somebody who taught me, before he taught me art, how to be great and be humble. So I keep putting him in front of me to continually, use him as a measure to always check myself. Sorry, before I start talking about the art, this was more important. When you get into the space out there, you will see, oh, there's somebody very special here. My wife's big sister. Now, this is family, Gongo, the real family, the family in Abuja. That's Mrs. Olufunke Darren Davis. She's here. Thank you so much, ma, for coming. And my pastor, Pastor Francis Modujemu. Of course, we all know him. Please, can we give him a round of applause? Thank you so much for making this possible, sir. Thank you so much. Truly appreciate you. Okay, so after giving all, I can't. If I start now, I will start. Is it Regis? He says, just calm down, calm down. Is it? So we will still give thanks, but I just want to quickly take us through because time is passing and I don't want to waste time. What I've done is to just list some of the samples of artworks that I had done between year 2000 and 2006, then between 2007 and 2012, just a few samples, just, to let you know what I've been doing. And then the various initiatives, projects, and events we held in Ibadan between 2006 and 2012 when I went to Abuja. When I was going to Abuja, the reason why I went, when somebody came from Abuja and told me, Silva, you cannot, if you want to take the Ibadan art to another level, you can't do it alone, you can't do it all by just being in Ibadan. You have to connect with people that have links to the outside world. So and he said, you will come back to Ibadan. And when you come back to Ibadan, you will know that times have changed. And that plan is being, so today, this is actually a very auspicious moment because I've come back to Ibadan. Pastor has decided to celebrate these few things. And it's actually, we are trying to pull up, all of us are trying to pull up our industry and celebrate the talent. So, yes, so the curator, Blessing, came up with this brilliant idea, SILVA Lining. Well, you look at my hair, it's silver colored. So these are very early works, 2000, I have a love for nature, so I used to document a lot of birds and nature. I just found some of the samples. I had not kept many of my images, stored and all that. Then I used to be fascinated by, the animals as well. So I used to draw these things, and I just kept them as references to show you how we started. And then by the time I got into African art, I began to find out that I was being influenced by the culture and the tradition of where I lived and the people I lived. I loved African music, so I find myself painting things that actually project the culture around me, So this is acrylic on canvas then. What did I press so? Or can somebody be pressing for me so that I would have loved to press it with this. I'm sorry for the delay. And for you to be sitting down here when you have a World Cup, you must be very special. I must be very special to you. Thank you. Okay, so it's still not moving. No. Okay, are you flipping it for me? All right. The next slide, please. Okay, so after that, I began to experiment more with other materials than the straightforward canvas paintings. So these were just painting on adire. When some of the textured canvases wasn't very successful initially, but began to do that. Please, let's flip on adire, and then oil on canvas, oil on wood. This particular one, I love wood. I love nature. These patterns you see here are actually patterns in the wood. They are not what I painted, really. I only heightened, made it more apparent. These are actually the patterns in the wood. So I found out this like people having a conversation, or groups of people having a conversation. So I just decided to embellish it and make it look good. This belongs to a particular stockbroker, and he wanted something behind his head. So I realized that the man is always dealing with numbers and graphs. So what would make him tick is things that look like numbers, graphs, and how to count money. So that was why. That's the mixed media work with leather and acrylic on canvas. Flip, please. Okay, Mr. Kola Akintola was supposed to be here, but he hasn't come. My brother Peter, you're here. I will still get to you and acknowledge you. So these are works, the three on the left were actually from an exhibition at the Institute of African Studies, UI. It was particularly about motifs, African motifs, and this was a study on Adinkra symbols of Ghana. Each of these symbols have meanings, but the one on the extreme left is my own symbol that I created. I said, why can't I create my own symbol and have a meaning? So when you get to the exhibition space, you will see that little. We just made some reproductions of these things. All these have gone; they've been sold. And these are some of the other things. I'm a conceptual artist. I paint abstract because that is who I am naturally. I paint realism because I enjoy it, but I'm more of an abstract artist. I'm more of a conceptual artist. Abstraction meaning using shapes and colors and figures that aren't easily identifiable, but conceptual meaning I have a meaning. I want to tell you something. I want to tell you a story, and it's important to me. So, like the one on the extreme right is a family. You can see that the light, the mother and the father have the similar kind of head color, but the older brother, then by the time it comes to the youngest one, that one is glowing, because you see that your children seem to be smarter than you. I used to always wonder that why is it that we always say that our children, that this one is already playing with this phone and knows all the things I can't do. You know, we keep hearing that thing over and over again. That this one is so, it's like they get to move faster. So we were just to put that in a conceptual form. The next slide, please. Okay, so these are some of the more realistic works. I was always fascinated by the city and the rooftops. This is Okeare, on the way to Okeare. I had to park one day, take the shot, and then go back and work on that. Oil on canvas. This actually is a work that is in Uncle Tunde Adegbola's collection. He has a collection of musical instruments and art based on music from across the world. So this was commissioned by him. Next slide, please. I'm fascinated by prehistoric times and why cavemen used to paint before they could go to school, before they could do anything. Art has been so fundamental from the time after you hunt and eat food, you start drawing. That means it's something so fundamental to human nature. This was a poem written on oil on canvas. It's there on display. It's an old work, because I used to live in UCH, and it was very close to where people that had HIV/AIDS used to come for their treatment. So I used to feel bad seeing them coming every day and what they go through. So I just began to put these things in words. I wrote a poem and just put it up, and it went into exhibitions during some of the medical events that we're holding. This is again about transference of knowledge. What the mother has, the father has, the child will have. He's going to enjoy 2 times what his own brain would be able to. So I don't want to go into too many of the details. We'll just flip through. Please, let's just quickly flip through. These are some of the others. The descriptions are there for that. These are 4 heads, African heads. I painted this to show the people that say that we cannot look after our own artifacts, that we can look at. All these 4 heads are in this country. They have not been taken outside this country. They were made here. They were curated here. They're in exhibition spaces here, and they have not been stolen. So what is this argument that we are helping you to keep your things outside the country? I don't think it really holds water. So this was actually to bring that to notice, and then some of my other sketches. So please, can we just shift quickly? So these are some other works I had done. It's just all these descriptions are there. I don't want to bore us with details. These 2 works were my major sales at the very beginning. Each of them were insured at $10,000 then, as far back as 2008. So right now they are much more, but it inspired me. And by the way, Mudiare, that was done at Agbaroto. Please clap for the Hamatan workshops and the work of the Honorable Pairs to make this happen. That was actually done at Agbaroto in Delta State. He came in, he looked at it, he left, he said, please make sure it gets to Portugal. And there it went, So please, let's move on. So here are a whole lot of, all these things are there in printed forms, and I don't want to take too much of my time. My MC, how many minutes do I have left, so that I know that 5 minutes. So these are all, all these are printed there. Work with children, always trying to engage social issues, because I feel that we are privileged to be artists. We are privileged to be able to create pictures in the minds of people. We are privileged to be storytellers and to be able to tell stories. And that because we have that power, we can actually change things around us without being violent. So that is why I feel that we can keep engaging people, and these are exhibitions after exhibitions, events after events, and then reach to different strata of the society. The Alafin was very kind to us to make this possible, that we made the with people like Ayan Galu, with Raphael Ayandu, Kainde, and all of them. You know, this is Uncle Tunde Adegbola's exhibition of his musical instruments from around the world. Prof. J.D.Y. Peel, I think, of blessed memory. These are times on BCOS. Thank you, Mr. Abdul Fattah Oejeji. You know his name. I mean, you've heard his voice on BCOS. He's here for making many of these possible. These are graphic novels down to create awareness for HIV/AIDS with Raphael. We used to have a weekend club, constantly talking to kids, constantly engaging them. Also going to schools and judge their competitions, encourage them. Postgraduate Hall UI is not only about book. Let's learn that there are other things to consider. Christian art exhibitions, sometimes going to faith-based organizations to show and get them to appreciate the arts. This is several exhibitions from UCH and medical communities. We had 10 artists who are medical doctors that used to send their works into the gallery. This was a very, please let me stop it there. It was a very interesting one for me because I'm flipping the others, but these things matter to me. This is a differently abled person. He's not able to hear. But we found out that by keeping him for 1 month in a local residency here and presenting him with what he needed to do and concentrate on his work, shot his skill level from one level to another level in just 1 month. We were all amazed at the works by the time he finished. He was like that. So it means that sometimes they just need a little bit of encouragement, you know. Live painting on stage, theater arts, telling stories. Please, let's flip. Foreign Relations Committee of UI, the professors, talking to them about the value of art, the global space. Some awards. Please, let's flip. Atmosphere. We have a monthly event where we bring artists together in UCH, and then the medical community and other people will come from different parts of the city, and we'll sit down together and we'll have this continuing communication. This is something that I'm passionate about, orphanages. These were about 4 orphanages. They brought their kids together and we were able to talk to them about how they can use art to make a living and to become more significant in life, to influence their society and all that. The Jogo Center gave prizes. Oh, that is Pastor Francis's son. He's one of the recipients. Now he's designing Spider-Verse animations. He's one of the designers. But this is when they won prizes. That is Raphael and Kainde, all of them here, that doing the governor's house, the nativity scene. Mother and child exhibition, and this concept began we had several of these exhibitions. Schools, again. Schools. Proprietors. And this is when we had art and culture fair in Cultural Center. Again, this one touched my heart. Remand home. All those children that they pack together and put them in a house because they feel that these ones are a threat to the society. But these kids, we are amazed at what they could do, you know. So, Yoruba Academy, which has morphed into the Dawn Commission now, the think tank for the southern western states. We used to have exhibitions on Yoruba culture. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you for listening. Thank you so much.
I'm sure we can do better than that. Thank you. Thank you, Imal Silva. Because of time, we've had to rush through. Baba Odunlade, I welcome you. I see you. You're welcome, sir. Okay, we've come to the last leg for all the presentations we have up here, and then afterwards we can go to the other side where we have the gallery and take a look at some of what we've seen here and other works on display live. Okay, so I'd like to call my discussants. We'll be doing this discussion for about 20 minutes thereabout, and then we'll take another 5 minutes for questions and answers, after which we will now proceed to the gallery to see what's up there. We have 3 discussants excluding Mr. Silva. Mr. Silva has been introduced somewhat already, so I don't need to introduce again. But we have 3 discussants apart from himself and our moderator, who happens to be the curator for today's event. So I'll be introducing them quickly to you, and as I call them up, they will have their seats there and we will kick off the event. I'll be calling on Dr. Mudiare, but before I do that, let me introduce him. Dr. Mudiare is a collector of from a family that has been in the art, creating art for the past 3 generations. A round of applause for him on that, please. 3 generations of collecting art. If that's not consistency, I wonder what it is again, you know. And when you come from such a family, there's a standard that you have to maintain. And if you know his dad is a legend. I'm sure most of us know. I mean, this is an art community, so we all do. His grandfather, funny enough, was a traditional artist in his spare time, and his father, an art teacher. His mother was a trained, or is a trained curator as well. So you can see he's been swimming in art all his life. And she worked with the Smithsonian Institute and George Washington University. My Ibadan accent almost came out. Washington. You know, in the early days, she's also a programmer and an engineer. So, artist by day, programmer and engineer by the side. He personally has a collection of nearly 500 pieces of modern Nigerian art. So when you say somebody is an art connoisseur, we are looking at one here. These kind of people are they're very rare. Over 500 pieces. Do you know what it means, collecting over 500 pieces? He loves to read about history of modern Nigerian art, and I can tell you confidently that he himself is a repository of the history of Nigerian art. Please welcome with me once again Dr. Mudiare Onobrakpeya. I would also like to call introduction Mr. Tope Fatumbi. Tope Fatumbi was born in southern Nigeria to educationist parents in the 70s and now based in Ibadan. Tope Fatumbi's optical portrait paintings of the hairstyles of Yoruba women look to empower and embolden those who are in many ways the pillar of the Yoruba society. Luscious flowing patterns that suggest a freedom reflected in the hairstyles, which are not only fashion statements but also tribal identifications. However, these up-art style patterns also in some way erase these women, suggesting they are somewhat overlooked and underappreciated. That's the reality of our society, but thank God that is fast changing now. But his work depicts some of those issues. Pushing against this notion, Fatumbi renders their clothes and bodies in thick textural paint to elevate these women above the flatness of the canvas and imagery. Growing up, Fatumbi's grandmother worked as a hairstylist in Ibadan, and Fatumbi likens the process and energy of weaving these hairstyles to make an abstract painting, something which inspired the development of Fatumbi's unique brand of abstracted figuration. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome with me Mr. Tope Fatumbi as he takes his seat as one of our distinguished panelists and discussant. You're welcome, sir. Oluwole Omofemi is the next person I'll be calling up stage. He was born in 1988, born as Godwin Oluwole Omofemi. He's an international artist who hails from Edo South in Nigeria. Am I correct? Okay. Who hails from Edo South in Nigeria. He was born in the city of Ibadan, where his artistic talent sprang to life and received the nourishment of older artists. Omofemi shared his early life with his grandpa, who was a major influence on him and wanted him to become an electrician. Thank God that did not happen. As a child, Omofemi loved to display his creativity through infantile drawings on the floor. So, like we say, use what you have. Start with what you have. Don't say, oh, I'm waiting to do this or do that, or start with what you have. And the young man looked at the floor and said, well, this is a very available and viable canvas, and he just went to work. He dazzled his older neighbors with such displays that a woman once predicted his future artistic accomplishments. One of the women around just said, this boy, you are going places. I mean, just seeing what he was doing in the neighborhood at that time. And now they've come true. I won't even say they are coming true. They've come true already. It can only get better. Okay? Nostalgically, Omofemi's childhood experiences in the inner streets of Ibadan helped shape his artistic vision. In his early years, Omofemi was propelled to hawk bear. While doing this, he used a part of his earnings to buy drawing books. That's what passion does to you. In order to kickstart his artistic career. So the beer wasn't to make money. It was just to buy drawing book. I mean, get that right. He wasn't selling the beer to survive. He was selling it so that you have extra money to buy drawing book and pencils and all of that. Okay? He later acquired a wheelbarrow to facilitate the beer business. The hustle and bustle of Ibadan metropolis, especially the popular Dugbe market, were factors that imbued him with creative impulses and fired his artistic imagination. He later met an artist whom he acquired some first-hand informal skills, and then Omofemi later recognized as one of the best artists at his junior secondary school, that's community grammar school at Mokola here in Ibadan. Tope Fatumbi was the first professional artist who helped his career, the path for Omofemi's, who helped clear or pave the path for Omofemi's artistic career. Please, I want to pause here. Let's give him a round of applause. You don't lose anything by helping others shine. Instead, you shine more. That's just the truth of the matter. And I'm so happy, and I will say thank you also for doing that. And Imal has also testified, you've done same for him. I'm sure if we line up all the other people that you've done that for, they will probably get to the gates out there. So thank you, and just keep being you. God bless you. His chosen media are oil and acrylic, with preference for oil. Omofemi's first arts exhibitions was at the National Museum Ibadan, Nigeria, and then he went on to do Alliance Francaise and has hosted his own exhibition. He's had other exhibitions, including the ones at some prestigious gallery in Lagos, in Italy, in Belgium, in Ghana, and so many other places across the world. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together as I welcome upstage to take his rightful place among our discussants and panelists, Mr. Oluwole Omofemi. You're welcome, sir. Last but not the least on our panel of discussants is the one and only Mr. Imal Silva with the silver hair. Silver lining. But you know that statement, or is it a proverb? Behind every cloud, there's a silver lining. So I'm sure there's been a lot of clouds. we're just celebrating today, but I think I should drop this here, that when you see people celebrating, don't forget that they had to pass through certain dark and cloudy period of their lives before they got to the silver lining. And so we're celebrating today the silver lining on the silver haired man. Okay. Last but definitely not the least is our moderator for today's event. I would like to quickly introduce her and call her off stage, and then I will hand the microphone over to her because my job would have been done. She will be the one to continue for the next about 20 minutes thereabout that we will be having this discussion. As I mentioned her name earlier while I was reading her curator's note, her name is Blessing B. Azubike. She is the chief advocate, art advocate, and is a cultural consultant and curator / arts manager. She's worked in various capacities as PR and communications consultant. She's a media manager, coordinator, content producer, and team member on multiple projects in theater, visual arts, film, and arts festival. Between 2013 and 2014, she was the festival co-director and communications lead for SPAN Festival, that's organized by the Society for the Performing Arts in Nigeria. For 6 years, she was creative director at Bayi Child Entertainment, an organization which produces art events and projects that promote social change and development. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me Blessing B. Azubike, a very, very amiable personality. Very, very, when I say amiable, if you see us conversing now, you would think I've known her for many years, but I only met her yesterday. And from that minute, we just flowed. After we were eating together, we're doing she's just that kind of person. Welcome, Blessing. And at this point, I will hand over to you. Yes. I'm told you have a mic on you, yes, so the others can have this.
Yes. Does any of you have a mic? Does anybody have a mic at all? Oh, okay. Good afternoon, everyone.
Sound check.
Good afternoon, everyone. So this panel conversation, can you all hear me? Am I clear? So this panel conversation, every time I've spoken about it with our discussants or conversationalists, I've told them that it's just us having fun. And what we're planning to do is, instead of opening up the floor for question and answers, it's not going to be that stiff. We want it to be as informal as possible. We know that there are a lot of, because this conversation is actually a celebration of Ibadan and these powerful men and the powerful work that they do in the arts. So what we're going to do is, when we're done with the conversation, we'll open up the floor, because I'm seeing this as what you would call a family meeting, because a lot of people in the audience are people who are passionate about Ibadan. And because it's a conversation that is celebrating Ibadan, we want to hear your thoughts, we want to hear your questions, your views, and all of that. So what we're discussing is the role that Ibadan plays or is playing in positioning Nigeria as a powerful space within the arts. So that's what we're doing. So welcome, sirs. Okay, so Mr. Topaz, I want to start with you. There's so much work that you're doing. I know that you have an exhibition in the UK in a few, is it weeks? In January, yes. And then you have this amazing gallery that you run, and you're just doing a lot of work here within the arts. So what would you say Ibadan means to you when it comes to the role that it has played in shaping you and the work that you do in the arts? What does Ibadan mean to you?
Thank you. Ibadan means a lot to me because I was bread and butter here. And as a matter of fact, my secondary school, the primary school and high institution, I went to Christ the King Primary School, Lagelu Grammar School, Secondary, and Polytechnic Ibadan again. So I've lived all my life in Ibadan here. But sincerely, I'm blessed with some great people, the ones I sat with over here. Like our Papa mentioned the other time about Mbari Mbayo movement. You see, the translation of that Mbari Mbayo to me is quite different. Mbari, that's not to me. I'm saying personal opinion. Mbari is not certain. It's Mubari, Mayo. So it's my own heart has been like that. You know, you're doing it passionately. It's not as if you are getting the best result out of it, but then because of the passion you have for it, you still stick by it. And that makes me to go back to where you paid way for others. You're paying way for yourselves. Because Emmanuel came to me and said, I want to have a gallery. I didn't see him as a competitor. Oh, fantastic. And I tell you sincerely, Emmanuel is not just a gallery owner. He's a businessman and a salesman. I mean, that's what I'm going to call him personally. Then Emmanuel came in and I was like, can I have some of this work and let me go and try if we're going to sell them? And he came back with nothing. He came back with cash. And that puts a lot of courage into what I'm doing as an artist. And that gives me a lot of courage even to further more into it, get deeper into it. Because Yoruba sọ pé tí oni tó bá sówó oni kó má dámọ̀ràn lẹ́yìn o. You know, the monetary aspect of it that he brought into the scene has made the journey so smooth. And presently now, I mean, before now, Wale came into the scene as well. I mean, nobody knew where Wale is going to reach. And to the glory of the Lord Almighty today, I mean, Wale's name is being mentioned internationally, and that has affected most of the artists in Ibadan as well. And sincerely, we're paving way for ourselves, and we're going great. Thank you.
So I would like to hear his own take on that as well, because you've become such a brand. You know how there are certain people who have become brands. When you call their names, you don't even need to attach any surname or anything. They're just that one word. You know, that's what he has become. You know, he's really opened up Nigerian art to the world through his brand. So it will be interesting to know also, because all of that happened from here in Ibadan. You didn't have to go out, you know, you were right here when the light started to shine on you. So it will be interesting to also hear your own take in response to the question that he responded to. What does Ibadan mean to you?
Thank you very much. Ibadan means a lot to me, and I don't think my story will be complete without mentioning Ibadan. I was born and I grew up here in Ibadan with my grandfather, which Ibadan has always been a kind of major inspiration to me as an artist. Firstly, because of the geographical zone, the kind of the people that live in Ibadan, as one way or the other, affected my work as an artist, which I'm grateful to. And basically, the kind of environment that I grew up from is the interior part of Ibadan, which life was so difficult, you know, for any young child growing up in that kind of environment. You have to wake up every morning to survive. Every of your days is just about survivor. And I remember I was living with my grandfather. I had my father and my mom, and none of these people were there to really encourage me, but I was actually getting the encouragement from the people in my community, the people that are very close to me, keep giving me hope that Omofemi, we believe that you're going to make it, and we believe you're going to reach where you're going. And along the line, I met with Mr. Silva, which he helped me then to sort perhaps 2 of my painting then, and you know, which I was grateful for, and which is part of one of those things that gave me the hope and the courage to push further. And to the glory of God today, God has been so faithful to me, and life has been so good. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you. Dr. Nubi, I come to you. So aside, because it's so easy for anybody who hears your name to just conclude that, oh, of course, his father is this and that, so he has no choice but to end up in the arts. It's so easy to conclude that. But my question to you is, aside from your family background, I know that your background is a little different from the backgrounds of the others here. You're, well, not really from the arts, but you've been playing such a key role in the arts, and because of that, you've been given an honorary, So aside from your family background, what role would you say that Ibadan played in shaping you and your interest and passion for the arts? No, he has I think there's a mic there for him. Yes.
Thank you for that excellent question. And may I say, wow, what a wonderful opportunity. I wish this was being televised globally. Because as far as I'm concerned, it's so instructive. And may I say a wonderful thank you to Dr. Tunde Adebola. Your history of Ibadan is certainly definitive, in my own opinion. And I hope that many, many more people can share. I'll come back to your question, but I just want to say I also bring you greetings, my brother, Imal Silva. My father says he wishes he were here. And the great teacher, Ebun Clark, who you probably know, has told us that every generation produces its master. And my father says I should please tell you that because you are standing on his shoulders, you're destined to be greater.
Oh.
May these dreams come to pass. I say this with a great sense of awe because without wasting too much time, Ibadan, for me, remains the powerhouse of West Africa. In terms of, being a creative incubator, I'm not going to go back into history because as far as I'm concerned, Doctor got an A1 in his history. But I just want to do the BC part or the postscript. You probably don't know this. A gentleman, young and unknown, was first introduced to our shores in performance, and his name was Fela Kuti. His outing was in a place called Mbari Mbayo. A lot of people don't know that history, but that's what Ibadan gave to us, gave him a chance. Also, you probably don't know this, a gentleman also called Ken Saro-Wiwa was trained in these great shores. The rest is history, what he became. But I stand to tell you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, no, I'm sorry about that, family members, that this place is a very important incubator for the arts. I don't care about brain power for creativity. It comes from here. Absolutely. Look, and I'm going to give you 3 illustrations because I also have a science background. I'll give you 3 illustrations. The very first collections and encouragement of a gentleman called Bruce Obakwe, who is also my father, was done in Ibadan. That work, which was collected X years ago, later went on to be to the auction and was sold for several, shall I say, hundreds of thousands of dollars. But that initiative started here. The J.P. Clarks collected his work here. They had the foresight. A second example is the fact that 25 years before anybody was looking at Bruce, he had already been honored here in Ibadan with an honorary doctorate. They had seen the promise of this young man. And it took another 25 years for any other university to see that promise and honor him with a second doctoral award. So what am I saying to you here? This place, these revered shores, these sacred shores, stand as an incubator that once it's perfected, a lot of people cut their teeth here. Are you talking about the fabulist Fagunwa? Are you going to talk about who now? Abeokuta? He was a strategist and historian. Or do you want to talk about Adeajayi? Or, you could go on and on. They had their formulas perfected here, and they could replicate it very quickly. I went to a school not as good as University of Ibadan, second good. I went to University of Lagos. But all our professors were populated from this great city. And the interesting thing, I don't want to waste your time, is that back in the day, the arts wasn't segmented the way my brother likes to segment it. The plastic arts, filmmaking, architecture, it was all one. It was all one, and they fed off each other. Doctor told us about a guy called Dimas Wonko. You probably don't know this. He was an expert dancer and choreographer. One of the buildings in this sacred town, the Dominican Chapel, I challenge all of us. If you've not seen it, go there. It's listed, according to my uncle, as one of the top 1,000 buildings in the world. Is that true, Uncle Tunde? Yes. Yeah, it's here. You know, it's here. What else will I say very quickly? The New Culture Studio. You know, I told you I won't tell you about the past, but this is present history. The New Culture Studio, you know, had an amphitheater, had a studio, and they were doing all sorts of things. They even had a press that set the pace for all of West Africa. That press, correct me if I'm wrong, sir, the New Culture Press, is that correct? Headed by Benga Shonuga. Yeah. It was miles and years ahead of any other thing. Mbari Mbayo went to Ife, went to Osogbo, and also ended up in Enugu. They have Mbari, Enugu. So you see, what I'm trying to say in a nutshell to you is that those matrix, those models were perfected here. And after these people cut their teeth, it was easy to, you know, replicate them, whether in Lagos, whether in Abuja, whether in Port Harcourt or whatever. And so that's a quality that we should continue to aspire to. I don't think anywhere else, quite honestly, is as fertile. We want to thank you, Uncle, what you're doing, because he represents, that's the Tunde Odunlade Art Gallery. He represents a continuation or a continuum of attracting that kind of talent. I mean, the people of Ibadan are very modest people, not in politics, but in creativity. And they continue to do a lot of good job. And, you know, I'll just round up by saying that this is an important center. We shouldn't give up if we don't see the tens of thousands of dollars showing through. But in terms of brain power, in terms of our warhead, cultural warhead, it belongs to this place. Thank you. I'll answer your question very quickly now. Well, I'm an art dropout. I wish I were an artist. I didn't have the stamina of my dear brother. My background is in economics. I also have a degree in finance, MBA in finance. I'm also qualified in England and Wales as an accountant, and also CPA in North America or in the United States. So I have that background. But all of that, the excitement I get from all of that does not match anything like being in the arts. And if I had to do it all over again, I will be you, Imal Silva. Congratulations.
Thank you. So it's interesting. It's interesting, Dr. Moody, you took the next question right out of my mouth, because I was going to talk about, because most conversations that I've had with people, I'm not an Ibadan person. In fact, this is my second time I'm Lagos based, and this is my second time in Ibadan. My first time was some weeks ago, you know, and it was a one-day trip. So I'm really not an Ibadan person, but I've always had a healthy respect for Ibadan. You know, there's something called perception. So every time, growing up, you know, every time Ibadan came up, they say, where we just saw that place, you know. I always perceived it to be such a grand, you know, a place that is filled with very intellectual people and all of that, you know. And every time that I've had this conversation about Ibadan with people in the past 1-2 weeks, you know, I've heard the same thing over and over, that term, oh, seeding place, oh, incubator. It's that sort of place where, you know, so you took that right out of my mouth. I'll just pass it on to Mr. Silva. Let's talk about that. Seeing Ibadan as like some sort of incubator, you know, it might not be as loud as Lagos, you know, but it's such an important, it's like saying, you know, what's that term they use for people where they say quiet but dangerous? That's how Ibadan is. It's very powerful. It's a powerful place. So let's talk about that term, you know, Ibadan as an incubator.
Thank you so much. In business terminology, there are two words actually. I want to contrast them so that it's easy for us to understand Ibadan better. You have the accelerators and you have the incubators. Lagos is an accelerator. It takes you from a particular level, and then if you get into that circle, you can move. But Ibadan is a place where they will start from ground up. Wale has said it all. I'm sure Tokwe has his own story. We all have our stories. You start, you don't have, you really, don't have the kind of money, you don't have the kind of support. I mean, you are a curator in Lagos, you are somebody that you run the artist ladder. There are so many artists under you. Every day you're posting stuff, these people are connected to you. But here it's not like that. So, what I want to say is that I am a living testimony of the same too. And when Dr. Moody was talking about how somebody will be able to build something here and then quickly scale once you get the opportunity, that's what happened to me in Abuja. So whatever I was able to do there was built here. That's the truth. That's the truth. And I want to live with this word that he said too. It's not just an incubator, it's a cultural warhead. A warhead is what is at the tip of a missile, that when you send the missile to go and bomb a particular place, there's something at the tip. That is where the bomb is. All this one is rocket, it's just pushing it. But once that thing lands, so Ibadan is not just any place. There's something about this place. There's something special about this place. And particularly, and permit me, I'm going a little bit off, but I run a network of business groups across this country, apart from the art I do. And I want to recognize the presence of the admins, the administrators, as well as the members. But most importantly, I want to mention that that particular group is the most intellectual group out of all the groups I have across this country. Wow. Or your group, yes. And that is the administrator, Dan Odofin. You see the leaders, Bisi Akinrola. I keep calling her doctor. She says she's ready or she's not ready yet. I don't know what it is. Uncle here, my uncle here, Princely, with the wife, there's several of them. But I just wanted to say that it's not just something we are saying often. Even as regards the business intellectualism, I use Oyo as a standard for Abuja and Lagos in my business circles. That's the truth. So please clap for Ibadan. Thank you.
Mr. Topfat, let me steer the conversation to you. So with what we've been saying so far, it feels as though Ibadan is not as recognized as it should be. And with all this, that we've said, you'd hear more when you're talking about the art circles. You'd hear more, oh, Lagos, that's where all seems to be happening. So what would you say about the pace? Yes, now we have a lot of attention coming to Ibadan. There are these Al Jazeera articles, CNN, So there's a lot of attention coming now when it comes to the arts. Attention is coming more and more to Ibadan. The pace it's not bad, it's okay, we're moving okay. Or do you think, no, it's really slow? I think that we need to up our game and do more within the Ibadan art circle or art, art scene. What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
Can you hear him?
Yes. Okay, great. I won't say it's low. Okay. Like Imal Silva said, Ibadan is a place where...
Wow. Do you want to try this one?
Thank you. Ibadan is where people are built. You see, I've seen a lot of Lagos artists, if I'm permitted to mention names, in the like of Ebenezer Akinola, who left Lagos for Ibadan to come and settle. If you are here, you are more settled to create. So Ibadan will give you room to create. It will give you room to advance in whatever you're doing. You have that kind of peace of mind here, to set out to the world. And thanks to God for internet now, things are not much easier. You could do your work in your room and just place it on Instagrams. And if you're good enough, the world is there to celebrate you. So we are doing fine. We are doing beautifully well presently in Ibadan as an artist. Thank you.
Fantastic. Dr. Moody, do you want to take that as well? What are your thoughts regarding the pace?
May I just stand up? I'm so excited. And by the way, may I just mention that
My mother never thought I was good enough because I didn't attend school in Ibadan. My sister went to the international school in Ibadan, and she remains my mother's pet child. I wish I had attended Ibadan. But on a more serious note, I want to read a pet poem to you that I go over and over again.
I'm sorry, can you hear him?
Yeah, I'm going to read a poem very quickly to you about this wonderful city. It's called Ibadan, running splash of rust and gold, flung and scattered among 7 hills like broken china in the sun. You know, that's fantastic, you know. It's a metaphysical poem close to my heart, and it was written in the 60s by a gentleman called J.P. Clark, and it's timeless. That's about it. And it's also inspired so many great artworks. If you just look around, that's a picture of which inspired from that poem. And that's a picture from Bruce Bracknell, and so many other artists have talked about the beautiful city. Is there potential? I certainly would say yes. Very quickly, I want to say that we have opportunities, because what are we talking about here? We're talking about sharing our culture and tradition. One of the distinctions about Ibadan is the fact that it's the twin capital of the world. You probably don't know this, but the highest number of twins anywhere in the world is right here in the city. And so we have an excellent opportunity to share our cooking skills, to share our tradition, to share our attire, to share our values. And that too will come. But it's such a multifaceted, talented area, and we will get to the promised land. It's just a matter of time. The truth is that, like any other thing, it takes time to catch on the knowledge, the learning curve. But eventually, this city will rightly have its place in the globe. We talk about places like Atlanta now, a mecca for black people. This city also has that potential, in my humble opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now I will sit.
Okay, so let's come to you, Oluwole. Yes, so I have an interesting question for you. Yes. So as an incubator that Ibadan is, right, most people would start from the incubator and then move to the accelerator, to be shot to the world, right? So I'm curious, this question is actually for you and Mr. Toppat, right? You're doing amazing work, right, in the art. You're known all over, but you still remain here, right? Other people leave, and then when they come here, they visit, or they're invited to come and teach other people. How did you do it? Come and show us the way now. But you still function primarily from here. Even though you're well-traveled, you have a show in the UK in January, right? But you still function from here. So why is that? Why haven't you, left like others to the accelerator and to other parts? Why are you still based in Ibadan despite, being, what's the word? The world is calling for you. We want you, we want your PC. So why are you still here?
Thank you very much. Let me just take you back a little bit. I remember when I started art, and my case was totally different, because I always want something new, and I always want to try. I want to have a different experience. So when I started art, there's what I personally call definition of purpose. I said and I defined the kind of artist I want to be, the kind of art I want to create. These are some of the things that I said to myself, that I defined years back. And I said to myself then that I don't just want to be a good artist. I want to be one of the best artists in the whole world. I don't just want to be an ordinary artist. I want to also make money as well. I want to be rich. I want to be well known. And I said those things to myself. I prophesied like, these are some of the things I wanted. So a few years later, I was consistent with what I was doing, committed 100% with everything I was doing. And a guy bought a few of my painting, and he put one of them in the auction. And that was how the whole thing started. So he put one of the whole thing in the auction. I was mad, like I was not ready for this. Why will you do this to me? And actually the painting was sold for like thousands of pounds or something then. Just like, oh, so this thing is possible. And after that, someone took another of my work to the auction. And, we got a better result at the auction as well. So these are some of the motivation for me to say, oh, so this thing is actually possible. And gradually and slowly, God was helping me, and with the kind of people I have around me, was helping me. So after that, I got a message from some of the galleries in Europe. Like I was just doing my own without even texting them, without even sending any kind of portfolio. So I just got a message from one of the galleries in Spain. And they said, oh, hey, Homofemi, we just looked through your profile and we have a project and we believe that your work, will suit in for that project that we would like to show you in Spain. I said, wow. And I said, what kind of show are you offering? They said, we'll give you a solo show. I said, I'm sorry, I won't be able to do this. I'm not ready for this. And after that, I met with Signature in London. I went there normally to Ozu. Like, normally I usually take my painting to him. Then he would just buy them outrightly and give me some money. Then I would go back to Ibadan. So that very day before I left Ibadan, I prayed. I said, God, I'm going, just make things work for me. So I went to Signature that very day. And Signature saw some of my work and said, these works are fine. I want to buy. And just said, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm going to buy everything. And he said, so he was just going in and coming in. He said, can't you see, we can actually show this in London. I said, really? He said, we can show this in London. And he asked me to drop the whole painting with him, and I left Lagos. So me getting to Ibadan, his son just chatted me up, said, and my dad said, I saw your painting, we'd like to show you in London. He said, and want to confirm if you will be there physically. I said, London, okay, I've never been. I've never been. So this is a moment that I've been waiting for all my life. And I said, I will think about it and get back to you. That's why I wanted to go to London. I said, I will think about it. So after that, we discussed about the whole thing. And to the glory of God, my first show in London, we had it sold out. And they paid for my ticket. They paid for everything. So after that, that was when I had a show in Barcelona. I had a show with Rewa. And so the recognition started coming like, who is this guy? Who is this guy from Ibadan? Who is this guy? So the one I had in Spain, I put in probably 7 work or so. But to the glory of God, the work was even sold before the show opens. So it was just like, everything was just like magic. So I got some contact from galleries all over the country, want to work with you, want to, I was just like, God, what have I done that all these things is just happening to me? But let me now come back to your question. In the past 2 years, at least I've been to probably like 9 countries or 10 countries. And I will tell you that no place like Ibadan, no place like Nigeria. I have every means to relocate to abroad at any time of my life. But I've been to places, I've seen places, beautiful places. And I can actually tell you that no place, because my inspiration, my strength is from Ibadan. And I always appreciate that because of the kind of environment that I grew up and the kind of people that I have around me. They are such an amazing people. They have been a kind of inspiration and hope for me as an artist. So, and that is what I'm also doing for others as well in Ibadan. To also give them hope, to also tell them that impossibility is nothing. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So let's have you answer that, and then we'll just round up.
Okay. Sincerely, from my personal experience, Ibadan is the God's room. This place is peaceful. There's this brutal experience I had sometimes ago when I went to Lagos. Like an Ibadan boy, I just want to cross road from this place to another, and I end up in cell at the end of the day. So what kind of city is this? So this place is peaceful, no less distractions, and you see people who are willing to help. And that's, I mean, we have good people around. That is enough for me. I've been to the embassy about 2 times, American embassy 2 times, they denied me. I tell you sincerely, if they give me visa free of charge, now I won't collect. I'm peaceful here. I got all I need here. And I want to believe, with story like that of Omofemi, I mean, sky is the beginning. Thank you.
Thank you. Omofemi wants to.
Yeah, I think I need to complete the story. Okay, because I see part of it. Yeah, I want to just later. So after the whole thing, at least for the past 2 years, my works has been doing very well in the auction. Very, very well. And Ibadan has been getting the recognition which I think that we deserve. So lately this year, early this year, I was actually commissioned to paint the portrait of the late Queen Elizabeth. So officially, I'm the last artist to paint her before she dies. And the portrait has been documented in the Royal Portrait of the Queen all over the world. So it's there. And you know, after painting that, I got an official letter from King Charles now. I was specially invited to come to Buckingham Palace. And I met with him and we shook hands and he was said, you did a fantastic job. So I'm happy. So Ibadan to the world. Glory be to God.
So when he's saying some few thousands of pounds, you understand the few thousands of pounds.
Fantastic. So I think we'll just round up. We'll round up with one more question for Mr. Silva, and then we'll open up the floor. I think we've already eaten way into our time. We'll open up the floor for comments. I'm sure there'll be more comments than questions. So, Mr. Silva, this is a home, like a sort of homecoming for you, right? And I'm curious to know why this particular conversation we're having, is very important to you. Why did you want us to have this conversation? What did you hope to achieve with it?
I think that another thing for another day. But he said something, just to answer what B said. He said, preparation is every day. Preparation is every day. Preparation is every day. But when the opportunity comes, it comes when he wants. It comes when he wants. So if you're prepared when the opportunity comes, then there's fire. I challenge you to go and Google this guy and what is happening. I don't think he has told you one fraction of what is happening. And I'm linking this. He has brought international attention and favor. That's where I'm going to answer. If you have 2, if you have 3, if you have 4, you can imagine the impact. Have you ever seen a movie an American film where America loses? Have you? No, America always wins, right? So as long as we are projecting the negative narrative about ourselves, we are continuing to destroy our future. So we must prepare wisely in the sense that, now, this is to you, Omofemi. I saw twice you had called the artists together to talk to them. I don't know of anybody that had this kind of fame that has called other artists to talk to them. I pray that you will not stop, because your grace is attached to that. You have become a channel. Because you are open, God has to continue to expand you. So that is why it is important that we leave this place with the understanding that we cannot. I was telling Blessing that there's no how, if he's going to call the artist, he will have to look for some money, look for refreshment, Abby. But what if we artists say all of us bring 5,000 and give him? Forget thousands of pounds he's making. What is happening is that we are showing that we can come together and get something done and rebrand, not just Ibadan, but rebrand Nigeria. And there's so much negative narrative out there. All we are talking is negative about Nigeria. Let us be those people who will turn the conversation around, turn the narrative around, and talk positive till we get what we are truly worth. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think that it's such a beautiful and enlightening conversation. Can you hear me?
Yeah, right.
Okay. I think it's been such a beautiful and enlightening conversation. So we'd like to open up the floor. If you have comments, we already have one. If you have comments, to sort of time keep for me, so that, yes, so that we don't overdo it, you know. So I think we'll go first with with Uncle Tunde. I think he was the first person, and then we have somebody just beside him, and then someone in front of him. But let me not assume. Can I ask you all a question? Has it been a beautiful conversation? Yes. Okay.
Hey. Wow, it's been wonderful. You can ask for more. When you have a group of people come together like this to talk about a city such as Ibadan that has produced so many icons in the art world, in the music world, the drama and literary works. You can ask for more. Well, first and foremost, let me say congratulations to the discussants. And then let me say good evening to my brother, Pastor Francis Madojemu. And I want to specially thank Dr. Tunde Adebola, who is the chairman of the advisory board of the gallery, Tunde Odunlade Arts and Culture Connections in Bodija. And I'm especially thanking him because maybe I wouldn't have known about this if he didn't call me yesterday, which was a bit surprising that I was not in the know of a thing like this. That's not to say that I'm important, that I should know, but Yoruba ni aki showo guludu kila bela bi umomo. So, Dr. Adebola, thank you very much for letting me know. How do you talk about art in Ibadan and not mention Mbari? Because the name Mbari Mbayo is not where it all started. It started out with Mbari, which is an Igbo word for Ibere, beginning in English. And it was as a result of the likes of the Baba of my brother here. Let me give you a hug. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, because when we opened the gallery, it came all the way from Lagos, and the gallery is named after his father, Professor Bruce Onobrapeya. Yes. So, Umbari is an Igbo word for Ibere, meaning beginning. It was said that back in those days, the Igbos wanted a new life. And so they contacted the Dibia. And the Dibia said, go and make new sculptures, new music, new drama. So that became a thing, you know, of history with the Igbo people. So when the likes of Professor Bruce Onobrapeya, Professor J.P. Clark, Professor Shoyinka, our uncle Tunji Elano, Jimmy Sholanke, Drola Dipo, Christopher Kibo, and the Chief Hulibaya and many others got together to form a club that will house, dramatists, poets, because the university was established in 1948. So they needed materials to feed the university, artistically, culturally, and so on and so forth, which was part of why we have so many publishers here in Ibadan. So they all came together and said, let's form a club, and it was to be called Umbari Club. So that's how that came to be. Then Doladipo, being a part of that experience, took Umbari and made it into a Yoruba word, Umbari Mbayo. So that's how that came. It wasn't like Ibari Bayo started in Ibadan. No. So it took it to Oshogo, and that was what began the Oshogo art movement. The Oshogo art, of which the like of Rufus Ogundele, Jimoh Brahimo, Murano Yelami, and a host of others became the beneficiary of the workshops that were held in Oshogo. So Doladipo and then Hulibaya organized that. I could go on and on. I could write a book on that, but that's not what's important now. We're talking about Ibadan being the place where it all started. You mentioned Demazi Woko earlier. Do you know that Demazi Woko designed a building which you mentioned that forms one of the 1,000 must-see places in the world before you die? I've taken so many people to the building coming from America, from Europe, and the first thing is, where's our building? Where's our building? Then I will take them there. During Festac, it was in the New Culture Studio, they rehearsed the play Children of Paradise, which was the dance entry for Nigeria for Festac. So it started here in Ibadan. And also the Langbodo play, which was the drama entry for Nigeria. I was one of the 160 members that was in Langbodo, directed by Professor Dapo Adeluba, a play written by Wale Oguyemi. So it all began here in Ibadan. And later they now moved on to Lagos. First we stayed at University of Lagos before they moved us to Festac Town. It all started here in Ibadan. So Ibadan is very important in a lot of ways when it comes to talking about the development of art and culture. And it is this very Ibadan that I took my group to America, and then CNN came to cover the event, and it turned out to be the first Nigerian artist to appear on CNN in January 3rd, 1993. It was same here in Ibadan. I could go on and on and on and on and on and on to speak for Ibadan. To now have Oluwale Omofemi, as a new happening. I keep telling people, he's the hottest artist in Nigeria today, whether you like it or not. Please clap for him. And he's such a humble person. I was surprised that he was able to say all the things that he said today. Somebody must have done a very good job on him. So, we bless God for Ibadan. Show me the number one that Ibadan hasn't been. First story building, Ibadan. First television in 1959, Ibadan. First radio, WBS, Ibadan. First Liberty Stadium, Ibadan. So Ibadan is a place where it all happened. Lagos then was to reflect. That was what Lagos was. Now we are regaining, we are now bringing back the past glory of Ibadan. And I've heard a lot of people say that the gallery we just opened at Bodija, that belongs to all of us here, is the new happening in the arts and cultural development of Ibadan. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we have, I think, a gentleman. We have a gentleman seated across Uncle Tunde. I don't know if it's. Oh, okay. Is that the only microphone? Please, let's try to keep it short
Yes.
so that we can release everybody.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I told myself I was going to start by greeting Dr. the historian. I whispered to my uncle behind me, whom I just met today, that the history he gave about Ibadan is as rich as himself, the historian. Thank you for your mind, sir. Just to say something, talking about Ibadan, the way I see it, Ibadan actually is, if they say that civilization started from Africa, isn't it? Egypt. But as far as Nigeria is concerned, civilization started from Ibadan. Okay? And I'm not just saying that to tingle our, to make us feel good, because we are all, maybe we have one thing or the other to do with Ibadan. The relics of civilization, you can point them out. UI, UCH, the British Library, my uncle mentioned a few others. So everything started from here. Last year, I'm a doctor, by the way, and the way I see medicine as a convergence of, where science meets the art. Because medicine is not only a science, it is an art. You won't know until you are, if you're not in the profession, you won't understand. So we can't actually separate science from medicine. And that's why I'm so intrigued about the art. I got to know about this just last night. I keep calling him Dr. Imal, Prof. Imal, professor in the arts. His wife is my chief, like we say in medicine. He reached out to one of our group. I said, no way, even though it's a late invitation, I just have to be here because heart is also where my heart is. Now, the question I wanted to ask, and I thank God for the opportunity to ask this question, is some of us may not be as, somehow we lost it when we were, listening to all this. Perhaps I may have been a wali at this time. As a little boy, we all have that drawing book, Hawk, all of that. I did all of that. It was so beautiful. I was one of the best in my class. Along the line, I lost it maybe to science, But what I'm saying is this. In some of us, we still have this thing for the arts, maybe in poetry. So the question I want to ask is there a room for collaboration? I do something in prose or a poem. I have it in my mind. There's a message I'm trying to pass across. But pictures, sometimes pictures tell 1,000 words. Is it possible to collaborate with the Imal, the Wale of this world? You look at this poem and you try to juxtapose it with a painting that also goes a long way to depict what is in the heart of the writer. So that room for collaboration, is it something that is doable? Is it even existing? I saw the book that you passed and I realized that maybe I shouldn't ask this question anymore. Someone did something that, J.P. Clark did years ago and tried to put it in pictures. I don't know. Last year, I also wrote something about Ibadan because last year we had this conference of doctors who were hosting in Ibadan. They came from all over. And I wrote a short poem that just goes to show that everything started. Because all the doctors, whether you are a prof now, it all started from the soil called UCH. And they've all gone to their different paths to reflect. Was that what you said? Reflector, to shine the lights. And now it was like a homecoming. And I wrote something that has to do with the rusty roof of Ibadan, where it all started from. And now as we speak, I was wondering if that could have also been put in a painting to depict what I had in mind. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. So we'll just... Okay. Does anyone want to take that question? Is there room for collaboration? I think the answer is pretty apparent. Yes. Does anybody want to? One of you? Any? Okay. Oluwale, you want to take that? Okay. Please, let's just have your quick comment on that. This particular mic. Is it on?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh, thank you, sir. There's always a room for collaboration. Lately, I've been thinking about a subject that I want to explore. And basically, the subject is all about sign languages, about some gestures. And for me, as an artist, I don't understand all these things. And I'm planning to work with someone who knows and understands all these sign language. So there's always a room for collaboration. Because one thing about art is that there are different kind of artists. There are some artists who can think very well, but for them to paint a realistic painting might be difficult. But there are some who cannot think, but they can paint very, very well. So there's always a room for you guys to work together and achieve a common goal. Thank you very much.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Excellent question. Let me just say this, and we can talk about this later. Do you know the Chinese have about maybe over 250 characters? And each character is actually an idea from their mythology and from their life expectations and values and all that. One of the characters I know about is the one for danger. It's also the same character for opportunity. You know, so what am I saying? And we can talk about this later, Doctor. Ideas can be encapsulated in, design. In fact, once those ideas are captured, it leverages those ideas very, very fast, and they can be widely distributed. Alphabets, English alphabets is like that. But just to go straight to the heart of your question, the earliest books produced by the African Writers series were actually illustrated. Some of them were illustrated by some of our very best artists. Things Fall Apart was illustrated by a gentleman called Uche Okeke. Every other page, and you see the African tradition articulated, in design, the equivalent, because experience is experience, expression is expression. So you're absolutely right to say that the artists and scientists, both of them innovators, they're not that far apart. In fact, recently, if we look at Renaissance, a guy like Leonardo da Vinci was also an artist and also a science person. And it's all about encapsulating ideas and presenting ideas. Sorry for wasting your time, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Silva, you want to say something?
I just wanted to remind that I have, Doctor, if you get to the place where the exhibition is, you could actually see a poem put into an artwork. So definitely it's possible.
Very possible.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's a lady who wants, yes, okay, please, can we have
please, may I, if I have to stand up, I have to stand near a pillar because I'm not always very steady on my feet. Okay, my name is Rosalie Ann, and I'm an artist also, and I also live in Ibadan, and this February, I would have been in Ibadan for 50 years. So, Imal and I are from Sri Lanka. And I've had always every opportunity to get up and go or leave or go. My father's in Sri Lanka, my sister's somewhere else. But every time I've tried to go away, something has always pulled me back here to Ibadan. I can live in Lagos also. My peers, my classmates, they all live in Lagos. But I can't handle it for more than a few days. Now, I'm in a very roundabout way. I want to answer something. You said, why? Well, no, because that is it's such an inspiring story, just listening to all this. Okay, I really am proud. I'm proud to be in Ibadan, where you also are, honestly. But you asked him a question, and you said he could live anywhere he wanted to. I mean, truly he could. But he keeps coming back to Ibadan, and no doubt you are still wandering around Mokala and everywhere and just being yourself. Right? I'm sure that's what happens wherever it is your home is. Now, a few days ago, this is rather a long, because I haven't planned it. I didn't mean to say any of this. A friend of mine who I knew maybe 30 years ago got in touch with me on WhatsApp, and I haven't spoken to him in years. He lives in the UK. And then he didn't know where I was. Somebody just gave him my number. He said, are you in Lagos or in your ancestral home, Ibadan? And I said, yeah, I'm in my ancestral home. And then I said, I live a very simple and unpretentious life. And I would never be able to get away with that if I'd lived in Lagos. And that made me think of something. You see, an artist has to be, by definition, very close to their true selves, right? And that is paramount. And if I was in Lagos with all my posh friends and this, that, and the other, it's going to disturb me, because we all have personalities. We all have personas we have made up. If I'm going to stand up in Lagos, then I'm going to behave in a certain way. And if I'm going to be somewhere else, I'm going to behave in a certain way just to be able to communicate with the people. Yeah. But you see, for me to paint, I must be with what is true to myself. I don't live in a posh area in Ibadan, and I refuse to do so. I could live anywhere with area gates and security guards. I don't want that. I also don't own a car because I don't want one. Francis asked me, he said, I didn't know you were here. And I said, I go past here almost every day. And I want to sit on my Okada and go past here every day. I don't want to be in a Jeep, a car, or whatever. That is me. And where I live, Mommy Daniel is selling egg neck on one side. Mommy Blessing is selling akara in the morning. There are people, there are Hausa people selling something else. They are all their own stuff. There are people all around. They're very local, down-to-earth, genuine people. Very, very genuine. They have no time for airs and graces. They have no time for pretensions. They're just living a survival life. Sometimes when our borehole, as it has used to happen to us, fails, then I cross the road with everybody else to go and fetch water at the tap opposite. Now, when I mentioned this to a classmate of mine, she was horrified. She said, what are you doing? I said, you see, and now that's the big thing, because my inspiration is going to come from things just like that. It's not going to, I'm going to London, it's fine. Going to Sri Lanka is fine, just for that time. Just for that little holiday, I come back, I'm refreshed, I can come back and I'm here. And I don't know why. When I come, it doesn't happen, I'm sure it doesn't happen to anybody else. So, but when I'm coming back from anywhere else, and I'm getting back to Lagos, and as I hit Lagos, something in me I just come alive. Everybody else is looking somehow, they're miserable, they've left Oxford Street, they've whatever, all is over. It's all over. Once you get out there now, everybody's going, the taxi is going to abuse you. There's no water, there's no lights, there's nothing. But when I come back, I'm just happy. Me and the customs were gisting, me and immigration were gisting. They're looking at my name and say, Madam, your name get as Ibio. And you see, I'm happy. The pidgin English starts, I don't always speak like this. Pidgin English starts immediately. And I think, thank God. Thank God. Because now I'm back, you know. And there's something else, and I feel very strongly about this. And I just came, I didn't know I was going to say this. But for instance, my friends may come from Lagos or wherever, they're having a big function. And I went to a very elite school in Ibadan, so I have very elite friends. And they come and everybody's there in their jeeps, and they're all very happy to see me, and we're all hugging each other and so on. And my partner and I have a bike. Right? And I assure you, in this Ibadan, man of war have prevented me from entering the premises of a party because I was on a bike. You see, that we have all these kinds of ridiculous things. If I lived in Lagos, it would be happening to me all the time. But see, when we leave those places, and I have had my fill of my persona of elite, and we come out of that gate, and my partner puts his leg over the bike and starts the bike, and I sit on the back, and I just think, thank God, now I can get back to being myself. And I just want to explain something, because I would never ever be able to paint in that other system. I wouldn't be able to create. It's not true to myself. Do you understand? So if he says he wants to stay in Ibadan, akara is on one side, they're selling something on the other side. This is here, you're buying. And everybody's all right. You can walk out of your house wearing bathroom slippers and boxers. Nobody is going to tell you, you're okay. You're just all right like that. And it's very, very important for an artist. Everybody, maybe if you're a lawyer or something, or maybe, okay, you might not get away with it. But an artist has to be true to themselves. Okay, so I just wanted to explain that. That's all.
Thank you so much. think we should take just one more contribution and then we close things up. Because this conversation will go on forever, so I think what we can do is continue the conversation informally when we close the event.
Yes, we need to, honestly, we need to close right about now. Yes.
Well, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. I just want to congratulate the organizers of this forum. That is actually something that is really overdue. Because for those of us in the sciences, my background is actually sciences. But I don't know actually how art came in. Because along the line, I just find myself being a poet. Maybe because I came from Agbole, you understand, and all the Alajobis and all the Baba Agbalagba and all those things. And then I was a secretary to Olomosu and Olobirinle, when I was young. So they just came calling, maybe in the night or something like that. So, but you see, the thing is that as a medical doctor, you know, I was a Lagela Zoo, you understand? Yeah, up school. Yeah. Now, you know, I came across doctor. Okay. Well, you see, by association, he's a doctor. You understand? Because he happens to be the husband to our own colleague, who is a doctor. You understand? So I came across him. You understand? Sometimes between 2006, 2010, when we were training as a resident in UCH. But along the line, I have developed my own interest in poetry. I'm bilingual. I'm a poet in Yoruba and then English. And we came across because he has this interest in Ibadan. And you see, because I came from Agbole, they have told me a lot of story about Ibadan. One of it was that I always tell him that this is the third Ibadan that we are. Because we have the first Ibadan, we have the second Ibadan, and we have the third Ibadan. The first one was at Igbo Awotan. The second one is at Okelele, and then the third one is Osemeji, at Bere. And it was good. It was so, curious to know more. And I said, don't worry. Well, I will tell you. If you want more, I will tell you. I'm a child of Agbole, so they always tell me of all those things. Now, then there was one thing that actually I want to point out. There was one time, so he always invites me for all this art work and all those things. The one particular one that I remember very well was that one Saturday evening, afternoon like this, he just called me and said, doctor, there's something that is going on in Bodija now. You better come, I said, okay, no problem. So I and Dr. Ilori, we drove to Bodija at Yoruba Academy. You understand? And as I stood there, I saw small children, they were dancing with their ofi and all those things. They were dancing, and then I saw an elderly man. I was looking at him. I said, elderly man, young children, I am in the middle. I don't know where I belong. Now, and I asked Dr. Silva, Mr. Silva, that, so what is the theme of this particular thing? He said, it's Omalere now. I said, Omalere. It can't be Omalere. He said, Omalere now. I said, do you know that this Omalere that you have told, that you are saying now, I have written the poem on Omalere Aye 2 or 3 days ago. He said, is it true? I said, yes, it's complete Yoruba. You understand? And I said, can you recite that poem? I said, it's in my book. I carry my book and I recited it in completely deep Yoruba. I didn't know that the man was looking at me and was nothing like this. And then he said, call me that man. You should see me in the office on Monday. Okay. I said, so I got there. And I said, who are you? I said, I'm a medical doctor. He said, you are a medical doctor. I thought you are a Yoruba, teacher now. That, I want to, employ you in my, because the person that is an elder person was actually Chief Emiola Adesina, the owner of Subola, nursery and primary school. And it is the children that were having the cultural, orientation at Yoruba Academy. So now I was now wondering, he was not telling me that, how did I get the inspiration? I said, when my wife wants to deliver, he was having a problem, we are having a problem transporting him transporting her to the hospital, going to the labor ward and all those things. And then I just said, why am I even having all this trouble? Is it not because of children? And then I said, okay, Omaliri, let me write. And I wrote. You understand? You know, I said, Doctor, you can just keep this thing up, keep this up. I said, don't worry, I will keep it up. So now, what I'm trying to say now is that, because of that little, inspiration for poetry and all those things, do you know that one has now graduated to, trying to look into the indigenous knowledge of our people and see if there is a science in it or maybe fallacy. And that it has grown to the point that, you can now actually see that there is science in Ifa. There is, what do they call it? Genetics in Ifa. You understand? There is a molecular biology, there is mathematics, there is geography, there is computer science. And and of recent, somebody, I met, now said, he now said that he linked me up with a write-up by Professor Wande Abimbola. And he was now saying that, do you know that actually, I'm rounding up, sorry. Actually, you understand, the Odu Ifa was actually 256, but each Odu has 800 stories. I said, now wow, this one thing is Nari computer. So how did all these our fathers carry all those things and they are using it to predict what will happen to somebody that come to consult Ifa? I think those are the areas that we need now to work on and expose, ourselves to the modern world. And
Okay. I didn't mean to come back, but she mentioned something about collaboration. And I think that's very crucial, truly. When we first opened the gallery in Bodija, I called on all the galleries in Ibadan for us to come together, that we can have a one show, that all of us can open our gallery the same day to the show. They can come to my gallery, come to Tope Gallery. I think I sent other arts to you then, Tope. So we've always collaborated. That has always been my own way of life. There was a day somebody came to the gallery, the one in Bodija before this, and needed some paintings. And he looked around, he didn't see what he liked. What did I do that day? I called Tope, do you have paintings? And he brought some paintings, and a lot of it were sold. I've never seen Baba Salah Bonvita before. Tope bought Baba Salah Bonvita to me this big. Because I didn't charge commission, it was just, speak to the person. So, look, the more the merrier. Ojú ọ̀run dẹ̀ tẹ́yẹ fò láì fara kanra. So, tó àwa Yorùbá bá ṣì wà lórí pé alákàrẹ̀ ìfẹ́ kẹ́ni kejì ó dé. That's not the way I got here. I've traveled virtually all over the world, giving exhibitions, bringing other artists with me. In the gallery now, we have about 80 artists in the gallery, of which most of them are from out of town. Kola Akitola is here, who just came back from Rwanda, and is bringing a group of artists that we're going to start showcasing works of international artists. So we should not see ourselves as competitors. That's my life. That's how I got to where I am today. Thank you.
Sorry, this is the last for this. It's been very persistent.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's going to be a very short one. I'm not into the arts. I'm a journalist and I'm a lawyer. Some few years back, let's say some 17 years back, I had some problems in my home. And it has to do with my son, who is so passionate about arts. But the mother was against it, and they were always fighting. At that time, I came across Imal Silva, and I had to bring him to my house. There's a problem in my house, and the boy is here today. Somehow, he was able to tell my wife, let this boy do whatever he likes. And to the glory of God today, I will say that we have every cause to thank God. He's in the final year in the university. During the ASU strike, at the time, he was always drawing, and I said, Mohammed, how much do you have in your account now? I know it's an Arsene Wenger, he doesn't spell, when he was talking about millions. I said, keep your money. I don't need your money. But that is it. The fact of the matter is that we should not forget humanity. And I want everybody to take this home today. When I got in here, I could see a kind of interlope, a relationship between the young man at the middle, who claimed somebody in this team assisted him to have a foothold. But if all of us can just be assist one another, things can get better for the world, and we can make things better for the world. That is it. Somehow, I will say that is the mentor to my son, and he's always very happy to hear about the development and progress. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, all our contributors. If you do not take anything away from this discussion, take this away. Each one, lift one. Each one, lift one. Your light can never go down by lighting somebody else's own. Please, let's take that away from here.
Thank you all.
At this point, okay, so round up.
I want to say thank you to our panelists. You guys were really amazing. My vision for this panel, this panel conversation was for us to be as relaxed as possible, to be very gisty, and give of ourselves, and you all did that. Thank you so much for a beautiful conversation. Thank you for your contributions. Thank you to the audience. You guys are the most patient audience. I just saw the time now and I was shocked. Thank you so much. Thank you with even the match. Thank you so much for being patient. Thank you for being part of the conversation. I can see a lot of people want to contribute, but because we've really run out of time, so we can just, when we wrap up the event, have these conversations with you. We're still here. Thank you all so very much. So we'll just, yes.
All right. We're going to be having a vote of thanks. Oh, the show is really nice. So please, Rosalian has told us it's really, really nice. You should stay back after this event. We'll be having the vote of thanks, but immediately after that, I'd like our photographers, yes, you go to the gallery and have a look at what's on display. We've talked about so much of the art. You should go and see it physically. It's on the other side, right inside this corner. Just cross over and we take a look at what we have there in the gallery. Don't forget, it's Tech Art Gallery hosting these works, and we're launching it fully. So after today, Tech Art Gallery is open, I believe. Okay, can we have... Okay, there's also refreshments on the other side. So please, you would do well to cross over to the other side after we're done here. I'd like to call on Pastor Francis Madujemo to do the vote of thanks and declare this program closed. Only the gallery, the viewing and of the exhibition will be the only thing left. And afterwards, please, let's stay back for the photographs. Pastor Francis, I would like to crave your indulgence. Dr. Adegbola, I'd like to ask you to stay behind for pictures. Baba, also, I'd like you to stay behind for pictures with our discussants. But we'll do these discussants first, and then every other person will join so that we can record this event for posterity's sake. Thank you.
Let me say thank you so much. It's an honor to meet all of you and the remarkable work you guys are doing. I'm just inspired by what you do, and I'm inspired by Emmanuel. And my interest in art and gallery is not limited to paintings. We want to have plays here. We want to have presentations here. We want to have dance, and we want to have all sorts of things. So our hearts are really, really open to see what can happen, because we know this can really change and help our city. So let me thank Imal for accepting to do this at incredibly short notice, because we wanted to open the gallery today and to tie in with our fun fair that's taking place in the Great Hall. And so all of you making this sacrifice, and to meet you is a great honor. We've seen your remarkable work and things you're doing. And I want to thank everybody. Dr. Adegbola, thank you so much. Mr. Adunlade, thank you. And all of you here, I want to say sincere thank you. And I can tell you that France is losing to Argentina 2-0.
Thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you so much. Please let's go look at the paintings at the gallery. There's entertainment there. Please stay back for the pictures. My discussants, please. Please, let's quickly have the pictures before you leave. Miss Oluwole, please, I need you back on stage for the pictures.
After the pictures,
then you can come, go anywhere you want.
Did you like it?
Miss Oluwole, pictures. I'm not a football person.
So let's do pictures before we start out. Oh my God. Please,
let's quickly do the picture session, please.
Thank you.
Let's do our photography.
Okay.
Imal, please stay back. Don't go anywhere, because once you go, then this scatters.
Yes, please. First of all, the panelists, then everybody else can join. So we'll
Please touch. Are you on this?
Okay.
Please, let's quickly do this.
First, then you and Dr. Libola will join us.